Hi and welcome to another episode of Off the Rock with me, John Ferguson. Well, today it is all about the Wallaroos and their quarterfinal bid coming up this weekend. It has been an amazing journey so far. The Women's World Cup has been absolutely stellar to watch. It's been great rugby, but also great stories along the way. And we're hoping that this is all just a massive preview, an entree, if you will, into the Home World Cup in Australia in 2029 for the women. So I am joined by a very special guest today, Piper Duck, the stalwart back rower from the Wallaroos. She's been through a fair share of injuries, but she is absolutely killing it on the field now. And Piper, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy, hectic test week and a quarterfinal week, no less. So thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have a chat.
It is been quite nerve-wracking to watch what was unfolding on the weekend because we weren't sure until the USA played their game against Samoa to see where your bar was going to be against England. And I feel like you guys just absolutely blew all expectations out of the water. In the end, it was pretty comfortable, which made all of us at home take a big sigh of relief because it was, a numbers game in the end, and that's not really where you want to be. So, how does it feel? We will get into Canada and we will get into the quarterfinal, but how does it feel to be on the other side of that nerve-wracking weekend?
Yeah, honestly, it was a really intense weekend. We knew heading into that game we were going to have a crowd of around 30,000 people, which that in itself is such an amazing feat for women's rugby and something I've never had the opportunity to play in front of. So that in itself I was really excited for, but we knew coming against number one, England, the best, it was going to be a really tough game and the situation we were in to make the quarterfinals. But as a group, we kind of came together with DK, our mental skills coach, and had the conversation around, so these are our options. And as a group, we actually decided to go, no, we're going with option A to really give it to them. We want to try to win if we can. And I was really proud of our first half performance, especially that first 32 minutes where we did hold that win, but we also held a really good style of footy and contained them really well. We unfortunately went out of that a little bit in the first bit of that second half, which really let us down, and that shows the score points. But as a whole, I was really proud of what we actually put in the paddock to shut down their key elements and especially their set piece and their few key players, which I was really proud of. So I think that showed the heart we kind of brought into the game to really want to get through to that quarterfinal. And, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know the score of the Samoa game against the US. So when the scoreline was differentiating and we were heading to the end, I was actually like, I don't know. So I was just working. I was honestly working as hard as I could, just trying to stop everything. Because and at that point, I understood it was going to be a score, like a score game, score points game, for and
Yeah.
against at that point. So I was like, we just got to keep them out or wait for the score. So I was just working as hard as I possibly could. And then, as obviously a little bit disappointed with the result, and then as we were walking around, I was giving a few of the girls a hug, and they went, Piper, pick your face up. And I was like, why? As we just lost, like I'm pretty devastated. And they went, we just made the quarterfinal. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, because I just was too busy trying to, you know what I'm saying, like win this game, focus on this
Yeah,
game, and then
absolutely.
I think thankfully the rest took care of itself outside of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I love that you mentioned the figure, the 30,000 people that came out and watched you guys. It is absolutely tremendous the amount of eyeballs. Kate Middleton was there watching you guys. Like, I don't know if you were aware of that while you were playing, but I would have been nervous playing in front of royalty. And then also to be to have those pockets of gold amongst obviously the English are very well supported. So it was incredible to see it filled out and just it's been such a record event for women's rugby, and there's still so many firsts happening. Like you saw what the Samoan coach, what it meant for the Samoan team to be at the World Cup, and then for the Wallaroos, likewise. You guys are doing your firsts all the time. It's just incredible that you guys are continuing to breaking all these barriers, and I tell you what, as an Australian supporting here at home, it is so fun to get on the Wallaroos team bandwagon and just continue to push you guys along. So you guys are doing us very proud. And I know it wasn't obviously a win on the weekend, but nonetheless, you guys managed to get through. And that's what matters for all the supporters here because we get to support you guys for another week. So you're going flacker. But another thing I wanted to pick up on was the hard work that you guys are doing. You in particular, I don't know if you know this, but you're the person who's made the second most tackles so far to date in the tournament. So that is, if I can get my numbers right, I believe that is 58 tackles. So it is something like, and the person who's made the most, I believe, is the Scottish, and she's made 60. 62, I think. So you're not very far behind, and you guys are both going to go head to head at it, I guess, because you're both going into quarterfinals. But then the Wallaroos are also the team that have made the third most amount of tackles, behind Italy, who are out, and then now Scotland as well. So bit of a pattern there. How's the body? How's your body? Because obviously that's a huge workload. But also, how is that kind of like, is that seeping into the team, do you feel, or is that just kind of how you guys prepared to play?
Yeah, no, we've been working extremely hard for the last 24 months, to be completely honest. And I think we're kind of starting to see it actually come to fruition now. So Joe Yap coming in has really set that high standard, high level performance, that work ethic, and the way she conducts herself. And being a defensive coach too, she's put some amazing principles in place around how we want to defend that dominance of defense and how key it is to, well, one, obviously the result of the game, but also our attacking as well. If we can get that ball back, we have more time to attack. So I think that's something that Joe has really put into us, and having Crystal Luz there in that attack space has made a massive difference for us. And I think it does give a level of confidence around that the work we're doing is paying off. And I know myself personally, coming back from my shoulder, contact was something that I was probably a little bit nervous for initially. But
You
with the
can't
group that I've
tell.
had around me, trust me, at the start I was. But with the group that I've had around me and the likes of, and with Joe, they've actually taken a lot of time with me to kind of give me that confidence back and to make me feel confident in the ability that I have, and especially in that contact space. And now, oh gosh, I wouldn't even know. Like, I feel great in my ability right now. Body's pulling up really well, especially after 5 weeks of intensive tour and then weeks before that of tour as well. So we're being managed quite appropriately, I would say. And yeah, I think the girls are just honestly hissing for this weekend. We're very excited for the challenge.
Yeah.
And we had test match Tuesday yesterday, which was pretty hectic, but getting ready to play against the Canadians because they're obviously a world class side as well. So it was good. It was really positive. But yeah, I'm just really proud of the group and the hard work, because even though the results are starting to come on the paddock now and people are noticing, God, the hard work has been going for the last 24 months. And if people could see what we've been doing at training and how much, honestly, we've been bashing each other at Test Match Tuesdays and the work we've been putting in, yeah, it's finally starting to pay off, which is lovely.
Man, it's great to hear that you guys are working to a plan that feels like it's working out. That's what you want in a World Cup. It only happens every 4 years. I mean, a bit of a contracted format now, obviously due to COVID, unfortunately, but that is what you want. You want it to feel like one of those things that you've worked towards, and you're bearing the fruits of your hard labor. It sounds like Test Match Tuesday, coming off the back of a hard game against England, probably could have waited a couple of days, but unfortunately, you're straight back into the quarterfinals, or perhaps fortunately, because you guys get another shot. But let's turn to the Canadians now.
Yeah.
Think that it's really interesting because obviously England and Canada are very much almost in their own league up there. They are both extremely skillful, strong sides, number one and two in the world. You guys at the weekend got a 47 to 7 result against England, but last time you played Canada, funnily enough, it was almost exactly the identical result in May at Suncorp, which was 45-7, I believe. So does that fill you guys with a little bit of confidence? I mean, that was at home, but this is on neutral ground for you in Canada. Does that fill you guys with a little bit of confidence knowing that you've just taken the best in the world to that score line, and you have grown into this tournament? Does that fill you guys with a little bit of confidence, or is it just another game that you guys are trying to stay process driven in?
Definitely trying to stay process driven in this game and reviewing Canada well. Obviously, there is a level of confidence after our first half against England and how we managed to put those processes in place. And it shows that when we execute those systems and what we are trying to execute against those teams, we do it well and it is very effective, which I think we have taken confidence out of. Um, Heading the first game at the start of year to now, we're a completely different team. Like, we have grown exponentially, especially we talk about the last 12 months, but even in the last 6 months, I think the growth of this team, even over this World Cup, has been quite extraordinary. So I think it is a game that, yes, we are taking confidence from that, but also understanding that these are a world class side. But do have the systems in place and we have the review tactics in place in order to see what their strengths are, but also know what our strengths are as well, to mitigate them and combat them as well. So obviously giving respect where respect is due, but also understanding that we have in our back park the confidence and also the ability and the firepower to also combat that in the right when we execute our systems well accordingly.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think like you mentioned, you got to take it as another game, but you've also got to review hard, and you guys are going to be able to take those things that you see from the game from your own game that you didn't like so much and that you did like, and then be able to take them on, but also into Canada's game. What you might have seen when you're looking at Canada is that they are an extremely efficient side at offloading. And so one of their
Yeah.
best players, Sophie De Goody, is a second rower, but she's got one of the highest offloading percentages in the entire tournament. So how does that fuel? You're a very defensive orientated player. You're almost topping what the tackle stats for the tournament. How does that shape something that you're trying to take to the game, but also the team? Because as you mentioned, Joe Yap, a defensive coach, something Lane mentioned when I interviewed her just before the tournament started. How is that shaping your guys' attempt to be able to derail this Canadian side? Because it is something that gives them fuel and momentum to be able to pop those offloads and to be able to effectively mitigate the amount of rocks that they set.
Yeah, no, we've definitely been reviewing that really hard. They're a team that loves to play really fast rugby. At times, it can even come across, it is extremely structured. We can actually come across unstructured because of how well and how efficiently they play. It's something we've reviewed, but their ruck speed for them is their key determinant in attack. And I did that early. So the ability to try to slow down their ruck, but that comes from dominant carries because they do carry so quickly and so efficiently. They often get dominant carries because they get weak shoulders. So for us, the key factor is going to be that contact piece around the shot and the chop, but also making sure we have those double tackles. We need that shot first, otherwise they do keep moving forward. But that chop, whereas that shot is going to be really important because we need to stop that ball from being moved. And then from that, one of our policies is, which I'm sure you've noticed for the game, is our shot. So our higher tackle needs to get on their feet and blast that ruck. Because especially in a game like this, slowing down that breakdown speed because their 9 is so fast and their ball placement is so efficient that if we don't, they just play. They run you off their feet. That's what they're trying to do. So for us, there are two key areas that we're aware of that we're going to be looking to ID and shut down in order to hopefully you can have more control in defence and control their attack a little bit. But also we ID'd against England even when we got those dominant defensive pitches, at times we weren't firing from the outside. So it's also having the ability to, yes, be combative in that area, about 10 to 40 off the ruck, but also outside that 50, 60, even at 70, we need to move up and shut down that edge space. So there are our key points, some of our key points leading into the game. But yeah, it's good. But I think it's just also IDing that we have a really good defensive structure and just sticking to those policies as well.
Yeah, the defensive structure has definitely grown throughout the tournament. It's been really nice to see. There's been a lot of physicality. Someone like Talakai in front row really muscling up and making some of those big, powerful shots, giving other
Yeah,
players
she's solid.
around. Yeah, she's solid as hell. And then being able to give other players around the field the opportunity to get over the ball. Someone like Georgie Fredericks during the Super Rugby Women's competition, one of the best pilferers in the competition. So you've got threats in close and out wide with great experience. But in the back line, if you guys are able to put that defensive pressure on and get that turnover or penalty, you've got players like Faitala Maleka and also Caitlin Hulse with great boots that I think put you guys in the right position on the weekend a lot of the time with great little dinks over the top. 50-22, Samantha Wood from the base, also extremely effective with her kicking. Is that something you guys have worked on? Because it looked like a really, really powerful weapon and a really effective weapon to be able to turn such a dominant side like England around. And because perhaps they weren't expecting that, they weren't dropping back as many in the backfield. And Kildun, one of the best players in the world in the women's game, was caught out a few times just due to the great kicking of your playmakers. Is that something that you guys have been like, okay, well, we might not, because I think a lot of people have been talking about Miller and Stewart maybe not getting as much ball, but pinning a side down in their 22 was so effective for you guys on the weekend. And someone like Michaela Leonard was doing so well in the lineouts, pinching balls. So it all was kind of coming together, but especially that kicking game, which I'll bring you back to now. Is that something you guys have spoken about?
Yeah, definitely. As Crystal, who's our attack coach, is massive on territory and the statistics of territory and how that really impacts the attacking landscape, and also IDing that. He IDs that really well with the girls who are very smart rugby players. Those field backs we have in our team, sorry, are very efficient in identifying that backfield and what the opportunities are. And then with the likes of Kalen Holst, Fatala, and Sammy Wood, who have a really dominant kicking game, it really gives us a lot of opportunity there. Something we have spoken about is having the capacity to hit those kicks in those lineouts, but also have the ability to get that ball wide. We feel like against England at times we probably didn't fully utilise the weapons we did have out wide, even though we were very proud of our performance in that half, but there was more opportunity that we definitely could have utilised if we moved that ball more efficiently from the forwards doing the work in the middle, getting to the 15s to open up space for us to play out and execute our shape. So, yes, in short, our kicking game has been something we've been really focusing on, because in the past we probably haven't had as much kicking game, which in the women's landscape right now is a massive differentiating factor around top teams, because in the past we haven't always had that skill set, whereas now that is really coming into the female game. So it is a massive threat for the girls and the teams who have that. So it's something we're very aware of, and we've been really working hard to really execute that.
It helps when you've got an absolute gun at fullback in Holster, such a young 18-year-old raw talent, but just an absolute mega boot. So we're hoping to see a little bit more of that from her on the weekend. But then if you look then to where what you guys were able to do once you did get that territorial pressure, specifically in the scrum. I don't think I've seen England being taken to task so effectively at scrum time, whether it was your own feed or theirs. You were able to milk a couple of penalties. Sam Needs, your scrum coach. I've had a fair bit to do with him. He's a very, very great guy. But
Yeah.
how is that you as you're a back row, and I'm sure you do push in the scrum, but it's really the girls up front in the second row that are doing a lot of the hard work. How is that working with Sam and then being able to really stick it to such a powerhouse like England, who have props that are just, really barnstorming players, but also great set piece merchants?
Yeah, I think Neezy has made a massive impact on the group. He's obviously a lovely bloke, first and foremost, but he's very good at holding standards high. Like, he knows what he wants from the group around standards and what you need to do well at that top level. And I think he's really embedded that in the group now. And our front row are honestly class. The way they conduct themselves and the way they support each other. Like, I know every morning, nearly every second morning, our hookers are getting up at 7 a.m. before everyone else is
Oh,
up. They're throwing, because that's what they want to be that best in the world. Our props always having conversations. We've done training, we've done our units, and then the front row go and do more by themselves with Neezy, because that is their bread and butter, right? And that is their piece. So I think it's not a shock to me that we're starting to do so well in that set piece area, because the
yeah.
girls are genuinely putting in the work. And like, it's those extra 1%ers, those little bits every day we speak about here. We have to own our 12.5%. So every player has 12.5% they can give on the paddock. And if we all give that, that's 100%, and we're going to get the result we want. Whereas if a player's giving 10% and one's giving 12.5, you're lacking, right? So it's something we talk about. And I think players are really putting in the work to own that 12.5%, and especially our front row. And that's now coming into fruition at scrum time. And when we hold our shape and when we hold those disciplines really well that we've spoken about, those pressure builds that we're working on, yeah, we execute.
Absolutely executing really well, getting those penalties, getting the territory, the connection between Talakai and Wood. I don't even know. It's borderline there, but it is absolutely magic because it is working every single scrum. And it was just so good to see you guys absolutely getting your own ball, and therefore it gives your backline an opportunity to attack off a set piece platform that you guys set so well. I do want to now turn before we kind of wrap up and how we feel about the weekend's game. How does it feel in the group? Do you guys feel that you as a team, as a unit, are getting to be part of something quite special in the sporting world? And how does it feel to be doing that as such a close unit? Because you guys do seem like such a close, tight knit group.
Yeah, we're best mates. Honestly, we all get along so well. I think we've created a really beautiful culture here this year, which I think is extremely special. And it's now coming onto the paddock as well, because we always touched on it, right? If you have a good culture off the paddock, it's going to come onto the paddock. And I think that's extremely important. But yeah, it's definitely not lost on us how incredible this World Cup is. Like, the moment we got here, the way we've been treated by the UK community, World Rugby, has honestly been exceptional. And I'm comparing this to my last World Cup, which was amazing. But looking at that one to this one, there's such an exponential difference and growth in the female game and the support that we're getting. And like, we get there instantly. There's this whole bus that's ours with a whole name on everything. Like, I know that sounds so minute, but a detail like that in our game isn't, because it's not something we've always received. And then heading to a game, I remember our first game against Samoa, which was nothing compared to the 30,000 that we just had, but still amazing. And we're getting off the bus and there's a crowd waiting for us to be off the bus. We've never had that
So
before.
cool. So cool.
And something like that, I think for a lot of us was that keep moment when, oh my God, like, yeah, we know we're at a World Cup, but we're at a World Cup.
Yeah.
Like there was that moment of realization. And then even when you went into that stadium and that stadium was sold out, and that was, I think, only 6,000, 7,000 people. But we were like, oh my God, wow. Like the atmosphere is amazing. Like, like little things like that. And then to get to the game in Brighton against England, and we're getting off the bus and there's thousands of people waiting near the bus for us to get off and for England to get off, but like thousands waiting. And then you get into the stadium. We haven't even started warm up yet. We're doing walkthrough. There's already thousands of people in the stadium watching us just do our walkthrough, walk around, like touch the grass. Like that's what they're watching,
So
right?
cool.
And yeah, and then by the time we come up for the anthem, it's full. Like it is packed, and it's something I actually haven't experienced before, and it was honestly incredible. And it's just, yes, obviously we want the good result here at the World Cup, but I think I'm very proud to be a part of something like this for women, but also the young girls coming through, because these young girls that are in the crowd watching us, they're like, wow, and they look at this and like, this is what I want to be, and this is amazing. But they wouldn't even know this hasn't happened before. This isn't normal. But for them, they're now looking at their future and it's so bright. And I think that is what's so special about something like this, and that we're understanding and we're talking a lot about. Yes, we all obviously very process driven, trying to get the result moving forward, but we talk about actually taking some time, stopping and smelling the roses, to be honest, and
Mm.
understanding where we are and looking at the environment, right? And me and Caitlin Leaney were doing a mental skills workshop a couple of weeks ago. And one of the questions was, what do you think about? What's the first thing you think about once the game ends? Initially we want to be like, oh, I think about this, like the result, like this, and like we're like, like if I'm being real, I was like, but if I want to be honest on what I want to do,
Yeah.
Leanie said this. She was like, I want to be able to have a moment and sit there and look around and take in the moment.
Mm.
So after our first game against Samoa, now I've been doing it every game. We grab each other and be like, just look around.
The old 3 a.m.
Because
philosophical chat straight after the
yeah,
game, 2 p.m. on a
literally,
Saturday or Sunday. Yeah.
literally, we're like, just look around. How beautiful is this? But no, yeah, no, I think as everything I've just said, it's not lost on us at all.
But it is like it is really that amazing, and I got goosebumps like at least 3 times listening to you say all that, because it is really awesome. And I think that for so many people, 21st century, 2025, we should have this, we should have that, but the reality is we don't. And the fact that you guys are being able to see that tournament to tournament, for yourself for the first World Cup and then the second, now your second World Cup. Some of the women in your team have played 3 now World Cups, and
Yep.
it would be, oh, I got goosebumps again. It would just be awesome to like, see that from their perspective, because that is just incredible. And like little details, like seeing everything named with Wallaroos on the bus and stuff like that. It is like, as you mentioned, the word respect, and it is about respecting. And also, like you said, you guys worked so hard for 24 months. I think the bare minimum is that you guys deserve a bus that says that we are the team that represent Australia, the Wallaroos. So it's just awesome stories and awesome little bits that you've just shared with us there. That's really special. So thank you. It's terrifying, but also extremely a huge privilege to have the pressure to play in a quarterfinal against the second ranked world side. If you were to say how you guys feel as a group heading into this game, how would you describe it? Because I'm sure there are a lot of nerves. And then after this, I have one slightly funnier question, which I heard earlier, but we'll stick with the serious stuff for now. Um,
You're right.
how is the group feeling? Because it is pressure, and privilege. Pressure is privilege sometimes. But how is your group feeling? How's the team feeling?
Yeah, pressure is privilege. I think there's so many emotions.
Mm.
Um, we had an interesting chat the other day, and it was like people are obviously eager, people are nervous, but people also knew we could do this. Like people knew we could get to the quarterfinal, and it's something, an unspoken thing we kind of had in our shoulders. Like obviously our goal is to do the best we possibly can. If that's lifting that trophy, great. But that is our goal. Like we want to compete, we want to perform. But we wanted to be at this quarterfinal. Like we knew we could do it. So I think
Yeah.
there's a level of genuine eagerness because like no, we knew we could be here. Like it's not like yes, we're excited and yes, as I said, we're taking those moments to appreciate it. But it's also a level of like, no, we deserve to be here. Like we've worked bloody hard to be at this quarterfinal and we're ready to take this game in both hands. So yes, there's nerves. There's always going to be because it's just part of the game. And I think nerves not a bad thing. It means you care. You care about the result. But I think people are really eager, but also they just want to do they want to do a good job. Like they want to do the job. We want to do it well. And I think that kind of sums up how the group is feeling. And now it's just for us directing that all in the correct direction. I think we started really positively on Monday, straight away into our review, and then into Tuesday with our test match Tuesday. Watching that back, reviewing that, I think we're heading in the positive direction, and all of this is being filtered into the right spot, and we're coming together really well. Like even though there is all those contradicting emotions, contradicting people within this group, we've done very well to come together for the same cause, and we all want the same thing and the same result, and for the love of the game and obviously the love of each other too, to be honest. Like we genuinely love spending time together. So putting that onto the paddock, I think that's how we're feeling this weekend.
Yeah, playing for for playing for each other, I'm sure the result will take care of itself if you guys do give that 12.5%, as you said. I think the question that I wanted to get to was that Faitala Moleka in the presser today mentioned something that the girls that are not in the group call themselves a certain thing. What is that? And can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that was really funny. And I think that that
The
is a
Vibe
great
Tribe.
mentality to have. The Vibe Tribe, yeah.
Yeah, no, the Vibe Tribe. They actually are so critical for us. Like I feel for those girls so immensely that aren't going to take the paddock. Like when you have so much love for a game and unfortunately not getting to, yeah, that's bloody tough. Like I have so much love and respect for those girls, but they do so well to keep the vibes high. They are the Vibe Tribe because that is what they do, even though they might be hurting or they've got stuff going on. We've talked about team first all year. They put that aside and they do everything they can to make sure the group is ready to get on that paddock. So when we're rocking up to the stadium, the music's high, it's pumping, they've set up the stadium, just their vibes are up. And I think it's been really lovely, like the group and how they've conducted themselves. And we just try our best to get around them as well. But honestly, it's something you look forward to. When I'm getting off that bus and I know the Vibe Tribe's going to be there when I get off and the energy they're going to bring, I get excited about it. I had Lane actually last week wrote a lot of us girls a letter to read when we got into the change room because unfortunately she wasn't playing that week, and I cried reading it because it was just such a beautiful letter that really got the emotions going and the vibes up and the vibes high, right? So I think that's something why we call them the Vibe Tribe, because they bring the energy and we can't do what we do without them. And we've talked about it often. We are a squad of 32 players, and every time we take that paddock, we are taking the paddock for the 32, and they make such a difference. So yeah, actually, they're such an amazing group of women, and everyone here is. And if you're unfortunate enough to be part of that Vibe Tribe, you wouldn't know because they bring the energy every single time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what like you said, it's the group, it's the 32 people that put the work in throughout the week, throughout the season, that be able to make the 23 to 15 play well on the pitch. So that is an absolutely awesome concept. I'm glad that you guys have dubbed it a really nice name. Obviously, tragic for those players who get to miss out on the opportunity to play, but nonetheless, that is absolutely the ticket to be able to make people engage with what you're doing, but also speaks to the heart of the team. So that's an awesome insight. And I'm hoping, not to be biased, not because you're on the program, because you're here, because you can snap back at me, but I'm hoping you're not in the Vibe Tribe this week.
Oh,
I'm going. I hope you get to see. I hope you get to see the headgear on the pitch, launching in at least another 20 tackles, but coming out of them safely. Not for the opposite player though, because we need you for the semi-finals, which we're going to make, obviously.
obviously.
So before I go, I just want to get a one punter question in here because I did put the call out. I said that the people I'm getting Piper Duck on to send me your questions. Um, so I guess the one that I will pick is Prendal on X, and he said Canada have a reputation as an innovative team that deploy an unusual attacking structure. What has been different about your preparation to face them compared to any other opponent? Perhaps recency bias will be easy if you compare them to England. Just quickly.
Yeah, so yeah, it's very aware. I touched on it earlier through this conversation that they are such an efficient team in attack, and that's kind of how we do it. They are low key unorthodox, unethical in the way they attack. If you look at a normal attacking structure, but I think that's extremely exciting, and even getting to attack against a side who attacks like that, and the way they think and the way they see the game, and also they just try some really cool things. Like even in their game, they want to keep that ball alive. It's kind of like a mix of an English side and a Fijian side, the
Yep.
way Fiji keeps the ball alive, the way they move, but also the structure of those European teams like England that they conduct so well. So I think it's actually a really exciting format to defend against. And it's something we have reviewed on how to shut that down. How I said around their ruck speed for them is absolutely key, which is very similar to a side like Fiji who like to play and not stop. But their 9 specifically has such quick ruck speed, the way she gets there. Sometimes they can have a player go down, they haven't even got someone over, the ball's gone. So having someone over in order to combat that is going to be extremely key for us, which in the past, yes, there's been emphasis on it, but this week extremely high because it is something that's going to be so key. But those dominant collisions, obviously we need them every week, but this week is going to be so extremely key because once they've got front foot ball, they just keep playing. And something we've ID'd, which is quite an exciting game of rugby that they play, is even though they have a structure, but they have a tendency, they'll just keep moving around the corner. If they see opportunity, they're going to play it. And their fours are actually, when they play blindside, when they play their options, it's their forwards playing it. They actually sometimes don't have a centre, have a back there conducting that or controlling that. They have their back row, their locks, like Sophie Goody, actually controlling that set piece. So I think it's just keeping our eyes up and being ready for, honestly, anything. And being ready for them to play and put anything on the paddock. And we've ID'd that. So for us, it's slowing down that breakdown and getting those really dominant shots and our spacing and our fire, which I touched on earlier.
Well, preparing for the best, hoping for the worst for them, obviously, other way around for you guys. Everyone at Off the Ruck, like, subscribe, comment, and I will send on your well wishes down below onto the Wallaroos throughout the build up to the week. That is all we have time for because Piper Duck has to go and do the very important job of rehab and getting the body set after a test match
Recovery
Tuesday. Recovery, not rehab. She's fine. Despite all the injuries she's had, she's come through and she's doing good for us all the way over on the other side of the world in England. Piper, thank you so much for taking this time, this very generous amount of time out of your busy schedule in your test match week for your quarterfinal. Go well on the weekend. Everyone here is wishing you well on Off the Ruck. And in Australia, I know that there have been Wallaroos caps, scarves, jerseys, and all the rest that have been being worn around, people filling out pubs. So I really hope you guys go well and enjoy playing in front of several more thousand people in the quarterfinal, and go well. We hope that you get the win against Canada.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's so lovely to hear back home support and everyone back home. The messages coming through, it means a lot to us. So thank you.
That's great. And I hope that everyone here has enjoyed the chat with Piper. That'll be there up on the YouTube. You guys enjoy that. You can always follow the Wallaroos girls on their Instagram account, so you can follow along with all their socials and their individual profiles, because as we heard from Lane last chat, there are a lot of girls doing a lot of great content, even Lane herself. So get on the socials, support the girls in any way you can. Make sure you wake up before that game. And everyone else, enjoy your rugby until then. Bye.